this decision of the Seattle Council to approve caste discrimination bill, is there going to be an upside because of that, or is there going to be a downside because of that? Let's take a look at the cost benefits ratio. This is just my thoughts, don't have to take my word for it, but I'm also going to give you some previous history of what happened when such things take place. So here we go. When you do something like this, where you're going to say that you're going to be implementing a caste discrimination as a law in the city of Seattle, it's possible that it could get challenged in a court, and this could go all the way up to the state Supreme Court, and then it might, get settled there. But let us say that even that's not happening. So if you are going to implement it, how are you going to implement it? All the employees are going to be required to give their ethnicity, and under the ethnicity, if you happen to be South Asian or some other person, you're going to be asked a caste. Or is it going to be something like, what is your religion? From there, what is your caste? It's a mess just trying to get this information, because you cannot act on a complaint based on caste discrimination unless you have all the facts in place. All the facts have to be on file before the complaint is placed. So there is that mess. Assuming that that does happen, what does it mean for the companies that are already established in, not just companies, but also businesses that are already established in Seattle? A lot of overhead, plus looking over your shoulder, especially when you are hiring. Already I have told you this before, this is a pet peeve of mine, that big companies, over half of their employees now are consultants. Essentially, those are not people who are hired by the company, therefore they can be hired and fired at will, and they essentially are employed by a consulting company which places them in these big corporations. They are easy come, easy go sort of for the overheads of the company, plus they do some clever accounting to make it look like the revenue per employee is inflated. You can go and look at the calculations, headcount versus number of declared full-time employees. In Google, I had done it one time. I think the number was 52% consultants and 48% employees. That's Google. And I'll bet you my bottom dollar, every company tries to do this trick just to make it look good on paper, that their revenue per employee is very good. One of the biggest employers in Seattle is Boeing. In fact, Boeing is the largest employer in the whole of United States. 140,000 jobs, 140K jobs. In May 2022, Boeing announced that it's moving its headquarters from Chicago to Arlington, Virginia. Now, in Chicago, they got themselves established in 2001. Over the next 20 years, they got benefits to the tune of $60 million. The company itself was established 85 years prior to that in 1916 in Seattle. 2001, the headquarters moved to Chicago. With that, a bunch of people will move. Clearly, the Seattle headcount would have gone down. And now, from Chicago, they're going to move to Arlington. Okay, so Arlington is touted as a destination because they said that you can get very good technical workforce, and that beats anything else. You have to keep in mind that there are specialty things perhaps that will stay in Boeing Seattle, but many of the new jobs, it is my observation having looked at many other companies, and I'll give you an example at the end of this talk, how when a headquarters moves to a new place, most of the new jobs get created in the new place. They move there for a reason. In order to avail of the tax benefit that the new place gives, they have to create jobs right there, because those jobs also they get some tax benefits. So that is the trend, that's the trajectory in which all these things are going. So Boeing now has already moved once to Chicago in 2001. Now it is moved to, or it has moved actually, Arlington, Virginia. So two moves. So again, all the new jobs are going to be created in Virginia, not in Seattle. Stay with me on this story, why I'm saying all these things. I told you about this, $20 million of benefits that they enjoyed from the city of Chicago. And after 20 years, they said, well, bye-bye Chicago, hello Arlington. So all that work that Chicago put in, all the Chicago residents gave up perhaps some of their perks in order to have Boeing call them the headquarters. All that's gone in thin air. Now they are going to Arlington, Virginia, the same game is going to play one more time. Here is the biggest thing. India announced, Air India, one of the flagship airlines, announced that they were going to buy 440 aircraft. This is a 20-year deal, I think. 440 aircraft, of which half of them went to Boeing and the other half went to Airbus industry in France. Of the 220 orders that came to Boeing, in a statement, President Biden said that would give a revenue accruing of $34 billion to Boeing, and it will create 1 million jobs. Guess where these jobs are going to be created? My bet, Arlington, Virginia, most of them. Now, there is one catch here. India didn't give the entire the airplane orders to Boeing. It split it up. There's a reason for that. If you keep needling India, and what I'm hearing is that 8 city councils are going to pass this resolution, Modi could very well say, well, why do I have to take it from US, putting its nose in India's affairs and still keep buying Boeing aircraft? I could very well go and buy it from Airbus. So there is that risk. And how much is India's patience going to be tested if some rabble-rouser, an immature imbecile, takes it up and then tries to rouse troops? There's some stupid nonagenarian idiot who wants to give money, and they suddenly put on a show, a dog and pony show, and convince the city council that this law has to be put in place. Well, look at what's going to happen. If these jobs don't show up in Boeing, Seattle, then that is a loss for Seattle, not for Boeing. Boeing will still continue to survive. They'll continue to create jobs. Now, that is just Boeing. Now comes news that Amazon has just laid off 18,000 jobs in Seattle, and they are not picking up or renewing some of the leases that they used to have on multi-storied buildings. I've got all the references in the description section, so you guys can read that to get the exact details about it. Amazon thing, I don't think is based on this particular decision. I mean, because that decision just came yesterday. They have been decentralizing. They have been constructing warehouses all over America. So the new model for Amazon is not growth in one place, but in several places where their business is thriving. So Amazon may very well also not grow in Seattle. What happens when all these things happen? Well, I'll give you another example. This is played out already in California. Tesla, Oracle, and HP Enterprise, all of them have moved from the Silicon Valley to Texas. And I'm just going to take one example for you to show how much of a devastating impact that has. Tesla had 10,000 employees at its headquarters in Palo Alto. 10,000. And they say that half of those jobs are going to be moving to Texas. And from there on, all the new job creation is going to be happening in Texas. Essentially, the one manufacturing plant that Tesla had in the United States, which was in Fremont, California, that is also going to Texas. So no manufacturing plant, no headquarters. So the workforce of Tesla, which has 71,000 employees worldwide, I mean, whatever the number was there, I've been to the Fremont headquarters manufacturing plant. In the early days when you used to buy a Tesla car, they used to give us a tour of the plant. In fact, they show how your car gets made. Very impressive thing, by the way. It was like a Disney cruise. I mean, Disney, one of those events that you go and watch. So it was pretty interesting. So Tesla has taken thousands of jobs with it from California to Texas. And don't be surprised if Twitter moves from San Francisco to Bengaluru or something like that. Anyway, this is California's loss. California can still take it because it's got a much higher count of companies. But I'm sure there is an effect because of this. So this gives you an idea of what happens when big companies move, pull up their roots and then move to a different state and put down roots there. And that is usually not good news for the place from where they leave. Why am I saying all these things? Why should the Seattle Council be bothered about companies moving from there to other places? Well, where do the revenues for the council come from? Tax base. If there are no people, there are no taxes. Then all these big companies are giving you the chunk of your tax base. on which you are sitting and legislating, saying that I'm going to put 183,000. That was the salary mentioned, to have one person manage this thing, and then an extra 100,000 for doing other stuff. That's what I heard yesterday. 20,000 foot level numbers. Now, if your tax base shrinks, there is no money going around. Not only that, these companies give rise to a lot of ancillary units which are all thriving because of the fact that they are needed to fulfill some of the side orders. All those things will go away. And if all the remaining service companies, for example, have to implement these hiring practices, guess what's going to happen? They are going to go away too. So the law that you are passing to benefit some is actually going to hurt the very people for whom you think you are benefiting. So you have to think this thing through a little bit more before passing such laws. And I'm not sure Seattle Council, barring one, has really given thought to all this stuff. Also, remember that there's already a provision in Title 8 of United States that protects you from discriminating for your birth, which family, which kind of background you are from. It's already there. And why then have this new thing? Anyway, I just thought I'll let you know there is a cost to some of these kinds of laws. In my opinion, this is a very poorly thought out and very aggressively implemented law because of something else. And if democratic city councils are going to continue doing this, it's going to be hurting them than helping anyone. Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Namaskar.